Good morning. Later today, I will be introducing Bill 38, the Justice Statutes Amendment Act 2020. A key feature of this legislation will be the official recognition of Alberta's First Nations police services. For many years, the Blood Tribe Police Service, the Lakeshore Regional Police Service, and the Tsuut'ina Nation Police Service have done exemplary police work for their communities. As independent police services, they can be much more sensitive to local issues and cultures. And while they're large, sparsely populated regions of the province may be challenging to patrol, these men and women have nevertheless become a trusted and respected presence within their communities. Currently, Alberta's Police Act does not contain any formal recognition of First Nations policing services. The government of Alberta is pleased to address this oversight for the benefit of Alberta's First Nations communities. With the Police Act currently under review, we want to ensure that First Nations police benefit from any amendment or other outcome arising from that review. The Justice Statutes Amendment Act takes care of this particular issue. It amends the Police Act to acknowledge the valuable role First Nations policing plays within Alberta and guarantees that First Nations communities are not left behind in our efforts to modernize policing in our province. The Justice Statutes Amendment Act makes several other more immediate improvements to Alberta's legal system. Some are technical in nature. For instance, the JSAA brings the province's jury selection process into the modern age by making sensible updates to the Jury Act. Right now, jury summons have to be sent in a prescribed physical juror summons forms. Instead, a summons may be sent and processed electronically. Similarly, amendments to the Provincial Offences Procedures Act will allow Albertans to participate in trials and hearings via telephone or video conferencing. Not only would these changes speed up the legal process, but they also allow Albertans to participate in legal proceedings without violating social distancing protocols. Ultimately, these minor changes enhance the efficiency and efficacy of Alberta's justice system. This legislation also makes changes to further disrupt criminal activity. It proposes amending the Victims' Restitution and Compensation Payment Act to expand the list of offenses that are subject to civil forfeiture. This change will further deter crime, as well as a source of new money which will support police training, as well as fund community crime prevention organizations and victims of crime initiatives. The JSAA also creates new efficiencies within the Referendum Act to allow referendums and Senate elections to take place during municipal elections. This important change strengthens democracy in our province. And finally, updates to the Queen's Counsel Act will enhance the diversity of those lawyers eligible for the Key C designation, including those who have spent much of their career practicing law in common law countries other than Canada, but who have also practiced law in Alberta and contributed to the development of the law, the profession, and our community. The changes announced today will modernize the Alberta legal system to be more effective, more responsive, more diverse, and more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We'll now invite questions from the media. We'll have one question and then one follow-up. Operator, can you please put through the first question?
Our first question comes from Braid of the Calgary Herald. Your line is open.
Minister, the Indigenous part of this, do you feel that this, first of all, will increase the status of First Nations? Sometimes relations between First Nations forces and RCMP haven't always been that good. There have been some mistakes made, including one horrible one back 25 years ago on the Tsuut'ina Reserve. So, does this give them equal standing and also make them open to receiving any further funding, for instance, under the Police Act? Maybe you could talk a bit about what it actually does to the perception of First Nations forces.
Thanks, Don. I mean, there is no question that this amendment that we have put forward would increase the stature of First Nation police services and commission within the framework of policing in our province. It will put them on the same pedal with municipal police services. With respect to funding, Don, as you know, there is a tripartite agreement between the federal government, the provincial government, and our First Nations communities with respect to funding. At this point in time, that funding will remain the same. It is 52% funded by the federal government and 48% funded by the provincial government.
Did you have a follow-up question?
Yes, it's just that once again, you mentioned the standing with municipal forces, but that doesn't apply to the RCMP, of course. I guess it doesn't. I was more interested in the state of relations that sometimes, not always, between the First Nations forces and the RCMP, with which they interact most.
You know, Don, I mean, I think that the benefit, will be that the RCMP will now begin to see First Nation police services similar to municipal police services. And as you know as well, we are right now reviewing the Police Act, including a transition study to look at the possibility of a provincial police service. All of this will enhance all of that particular work and make sure that in the work ahead that we considered all of the issues that affect our First Nation police services and commissions.
Thank you. Operator, can you please put through the next caller?
Our next question comes from Sherry Noreen of Windspeaker. Your line is open.
I'm sorry, can she get through?
Sherry, are you still there?
Sorry, I'm off my mute. Sorry about that. In reference to First Nations policing as well, you say that in some of the information that was provided to us that they'll be able to issue tickets under the Provincial Offences Procedures Act. How is that significant?
You know, this is, in my view, significant, Sherry, because up until now, there has been a sort of a difficulty with our First Nation police services being able to enforce their bylaws. With this amendment, they will not be able to issue their ticket and go to the court to enforce them rather than having to bring charges with respect to traffic violations. So this is one problem that we have heard time and time again from our First Nations people, and I'm glad that this government is finally giving them that particular tool that they have always asked for. And
do you have a follow-up?
So are you saying provincial jurisdiction is going to go on to reserve?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the First Nations communities can now issue tickets by themselves and have the tool to enforce those violations themselves through our court system, not the other way around.
Operator, can you please put through the next caller?
Our next question comes from Lauren Boothby of the Edmonton Journal. Your line is open.
Hello. Yes, I'm just wondering if you can kind of explain more about how this will change things for First Nations policing. Is this more like symbolic in nature, or because they already have power under Section 5 of the Police Act, so how will this change things for those nations that are currently operating police services, or maybe who want to have one?
So one of the ways by which this is significant for our First Nation policing service is, again, by acknowledging that there are bona fide police services within the framework of policing in our province. The Police Act references First Nation policing by way of an exemption, not so much of an acknowledgement that they are an equal partner when it comes to policing. With this amendment, they will not have the same footing with all of the municipal police services like Calgary, Edmonton, Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, and all of those.
And do you have a follow-up?
Yes. Can you explain how it will be different for them? So one example is tickets, right? So municipal tickets. Are there other powers they currently do not have that they will have now?
I think one of the things that they would benefit from is all of the partnerships, whether provincial, municipal, and federal, that other police services do benefit from. By providing them an equal footing with those other municipal services, they will now be able to sit on the table with those other police services. Also, training possibilities. They will not have the ability to be able to better train their police services. It will also give the chiefs the ability to be able to hire the police chiefs of First Nations police services to hire their own police officers and participate in the elaborate training that other police officers do involve, and much more.
Operator, can you please put through the next question?
Our next question comes from Bill Fortier of CTV. Your line is open.
Hi, Minister. Two questions. First one, we know that, of course, First Nations sometimes are outside of provincial law and are more under federal law. Will these First Nation police forces still be under the umbrella of Alberta Justice and Solicitor General, or are they outside of the purview of that ministry?
No, my department continues to be responsible for policing in our province. What this does is to recognize the First Nation Police Services and Commission within the framework of policing and within the framework of the Police Act in our province. But the Police Act will continue to be the primary legislation that governs police governance in our province.
And did you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, quick follow-up question. Minister, do you see this as a step towards removing the RCMP and bringing in provincial police service?
No, I don't think so. This decision is completely separate and different from the transition study that the province has embarked on.
And we'll take one last question. Operator, can you please put through the last question?
Our question comes from Kenny Trenton of Kicks FM. Your line is open.
Good morning, Minister. I guess one of the first questions we have about this is that up in this part of the woods, we have the Lakeshore Police Force, as you had kind of mentioned. Question one, do you think that this opens up an opportunity for perhaps more First Nations police forces to come up in the province?
I hope so. Ken, the goal here is to strengthen the existing three First Nation police services and hopefully encourage others who have been thinking about having their own police services to do so now that they now have a permanent recognition in the Police Act.
And one last follow-up, please.
Okay, and also in terms I see on this part here, modernizing the justice system and amendments to the Provincial Offence Procedures Act, allowing courts to technology to play a bigger role in that. Do you think that this could also help, I guess, with a lot of the backlogs that the justice system faces in terms of sometimes cases even getting put away because they've just waited too long? So aside from obviously the pandemic, is this technology you could see be used going forward even post-pandemic?
I would agree, Kenny. If we have learned anything from the COVID-19 pandemic, it is the importance at this point in time in our history of technology and innovation. And we have made a lot of changes to make sure that the citizens can still deal with the justice system at the comfort of their homes and offices and wherever they may be in our province. And we hope that this amendment would deepen and continue that. And as a government, we have committed to making sure that we modernize our court processes and systems, to make for more efficient use of technology.
Thank you, everyone, for calling in, and thank you very much, Minister.
And thank you, everyone. Have a great day.